Blended learning has given me an added understanding to my own philosophy about active engagement. So I've always thought that students need to be very much engaged in their learning. Blended learning has crept its way into my approaches to teaching so that we're using different ways, and some of that approach, I suppose, has been through being forced into it through an online offering of our education course, but in other ways I was trying to explore options for students and create a little bit more flexibility, but very much so trying to keep the quality. So in doing that, I've taken the opportunity in Cairns this year to move into the new learning space, A3.3, which has set up laptop stations to which have microphones going down to certain areas in the lecture room, and then I can control a camera at the front of the room to put the student work up on the front board. Previously, I would have done that through utilising butcher's paper and whiteboard pens and having students rotate through the room. This year, what I've been able to do, and it requires a great deal of scaffolding, is to provide the students an opportunity to do that activity in their lecture time frame, and it's interwoven, of course, between the lectures themselves. The students know that they're going to come to a group activity that requires them to produce something on a PowerPoint or on a Word document that will then be shared up on a large data screen for the whole group to see, and then we might discuss some certain points out of it. I need to let you know that it does require a great deal of scaffolding on my part to ensure then that the student engagement, that active engagement, occurs before they walk into the lecture theatre. That means I need to provide information about if it's a reading that it's centred around, what type of reading and what angle to which we're taking that reading, what types of activities they might be engaged in, whether they're going to be involved in analysing certain statements, questions, justifying something, or proposing new strategies or proposing activities that they'd plan out for the classroom. And I set that up and upload that to Learn JCU approximately 4 days before the lecture time, so it gives them enough time. Their groups have been pre-organised, and I also use the markers that you might find out in a HPE field as boundaries to notify colour points for the groups, so that then they all have names, they all have colour codes, and they know when the expectation is that they're going to speak. They also know at what time that particular group activity is going to occur, and it's usually on the hour of the second start of the hour in the 2-hour lecture, and that they will come to that group activity. It will last approximately 10 minutes and there would be some type of sharing process. It's allowed the groups to form previous to coming into the lecture theatre. It's also allowed them to go away and continue the discussions. Those groups also form blog groups, so that if we do have activities that need to be added to at a later time, say in week 2 and week 6 and week 8 of my subject, then those are the blog groups that I have formed that they would work in for that whole time frame up until week 8. In addition to that, I have used blended learning, of course, in the external environment where we have the offering of a course, totally external students spread across Australia. I have purposely tried to locate students geographically because some of them choose to meet up, but where there's an interstate student, I interwove a student from another state into the groups. Blog groups are utilised to create that social presence and that active engagement across, and they are encouraged and as part of assessment need to do peer feedback and make a value add comment through justification and not just an agreement statement. And more recently this year I used Collaborate as part of blended learning as well, in bringing together a whole class, a group task. Those blog groups then, they had to present their lesson plans that they had put forward and propose questions to their group for response feedback that then they could use in a further reflection aspect. So I think the technology aspect is really important. For my area of teaching, health and physical education, it's very important for me to also promote that technology is a key element of our teaching area when we go out and teach students in schools. I have done sessions in class with the Wii and played games and looked at how we might utilise those types of technologies in teaching physical activity to our kids and engaging them in. We've also used the electronic whiteboard and got students to engage in that fashion, as well as cameras, and utilising the cameras in the blended learning to evaluate their teaching of a skill and then sharing it through those lecture capture points in our 2-hour lecture. Down the track, I know I need to provide a lot of scaffolding to the students for their teaching and learning to make sure that I maintain the quality, but I'm going to start exploring performance tasks in the online environment, in that blended learning. And that will be for both the internal students and the external cohorts. That will involve me setting up a task that's classified as multimodal, where they will have a choice of bringing some visual and some audio mediums together and utilising a blog group or a collaborate session for them to receive feedback on it, to which then they can go away and write up a reflection and submit to me for marking. So absolutely part of my uptake of approach to improving and enhancing the active learning aspect by bringing the technology in, but I'm always very conscious of maintaining quality in the work that's done. I'm also very conscious of ensuring that student access is really important through compressed files or through uploading to a YouTube site or a Facebook site to try and ensure that everyone can access it. I know it's going to take a fair amount of work on my part to set it up so that we get that quality, and it's just continued work. At the same time, I can learn from the students, so I'm open to their suggestions as well.